What about the environment, Petko? Because this is a massive stage. I'm just thinking visually as well for someone like Tristan. I don't want to build it up too much, but visually this must be a little different as well when you're down there and there's obviously all these surroundings. Does it take an adjustment, that, or are you just focusing on the court?
Well, I think apart from the emotional toll that it can take playing in front of so many people, I think the most important part for these players who don't play oftentimes on the big stages is to defend your line no matter what it takes. Because the space behind you is so big, you tend to back up subconsciously, and that's something that you can't.
That's his coach, Andrew Roberts. Next to him is Simon Ray, who we'll be speaking to later on. Of course, Simon does a lot of the data analysis.
He's already looking at the iPad.
He is. There's a lot of numbers on that iPad as well. You need to know what you're looking at. That's the nature of the sport these days, for those that wish to dig into it.
That's well played. And I watched the match against Taro Daniel of Schoolkate in the first round, and this is where he is at his best, when he finds his first serve and then can use his forehand from the center of the court. That's what he looks to do, is try and dictate the baseline rallies with his forehand whenever he can. Did that too a couple of times in his first match. The old serve and volley. I think that will be important today as well, just to disrupt Jannik Sinner's great returning whenever he can.
Yeah, Perth boy, so from WA. Yeah, the balance will be, as Petko says, in many ways, is he going to have enough time to run around those sort of balls? Because he's obviously playing a player that can rush you. That's clear. And I guess decisions are going to have to be made, aren't they, from his perspective?
That's why the first serve will be so important for him, to be able to sort of avoid his backhand. It's not a bad shot, his backhand, but this is his money wing, the forehand side.
Good start. He's up and running. Financial incentive alone just from making the second round. If you look at his career prize money, Schoolkate, he has made $532,000 officially just from making the second round here. He's making 200K. So almost a third, in fact, close to a third of his career prize money has been achieved here with one win, which speaks volumes to the majors and just how significant it is to win matches at this level now. It's been a bit windy out, hasn't it? Last night was blowing a gale.
Yeah, and on the side where Schoolkate is right now, it tends to be windier. you have the two doors where the wind can come in, and from the top, honestly, I don't really understand meteorology or physics, but I played on this court many times, and on this side where Schoolkate is, it feels always a lot breezier than down the other end.
Yes, it was a tough opening round, wasn't it, against Nicholas Jarry, one of the highest ranked players not to be seeded, the Chilean. Played well.
And once again, Jannik Sinner showed why he was so good last year. Just in those big moments, he plays so well. And he doesn't hold back. He goes bigger. He hits the ball harder in the tie breaks. Makes him so strong.
Feel of what it's like when you give this guy a bit of time on the ball.
49.
Spent his pre-season in the Middle East, in Dubai. Trained a lot actually with Grigor Dimitrov, I'm reliably informed. Those two are working out together. Dimitrov, of course, injured. Unable to finish his first rounder here, so...
These two things are not related, though, are they?
I hope not. Shame for the Bulgarian. Hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later.
And Nick, I wonder what you think, but to me, last year, the biggest improvement in Jannik Sinner's game was the second serve. Despite this double fault, he got so much more pace on it. It got so much more dangerous. If you remember a few years ago, he would always sort of kick the ball in. The speed really dropped off on the second serve.
Cain, Sinner.
Going to stay in the rally, but not for long enough.
1 game up.
Yeah, his serving numbers all round last year were absolutely exceptional. Pretty much every category he led, if you look at it on the tour. Serve games won, breakpoints saved. Don't often talk about that. He was tour leader in breakpoints saved last year. 74%, I think, was his number. So therefore, obviously, when players were getting chances, we know this is a sport of fine margins and point here or there sometimes. He was able to keep them at bay, his opposition, by winning so many of those breakpoints.
Love.
was pretty special. Early stages, but the Aussies got some game.
Incredible rally from both men, and particularly Schoolkate's backhand. Take a look at this. The shot he doesn't like as much. Two beautiful backhand down the lines, and the last one gets him the point. Nicely done. Not impressed by this big stage so far.
Yeah, he's won one challenger in his career, this guy. That was in Guangzhou in April last year. He actually beat the aforementioned Adam Walton, who Darren Cahill was just mentioning. That was his only challenger title so far. Coming in the spring, his ranking last year, I mentioned the fact it went in the right direction. He started last year at 260. He ended at 170.
And I would almost wish for him to play more ATP tournaments this year, because whenever I have seen him play ATP opposition, he's very good. I saw his match at the US Open against Jakub Mensik, who had a big win yesterday against Kaspar Ruud. Was a tight 7-6 in the 5th. Played really well there too. I think that should be the next step for him, hopefully.
It's a big delivery, 208 Ks. That's not shy of pace. And he's off to a promising start in set number 1. The benefits, Pekka, as well for someone like him is that if you're playing more tour events, yes, you're in danger of losing earlier, but the upside is that you are getting a feel for the level where you need to be at, right?
Yeah, and I think you see it here. It clearly helps him narrow his focus down. I mentioned that I watched this match against Taro Daniel. He was backing up behind the baseline a lot, so I was worried for him today on Rod Laver Arena against such a powerful player as Jannik Sinner, but he's not doing that. And so it clearly shows you that he's up for this type of challenge. It narrows his focus down, and I think he should try and challenge himself in that way more often this year.
Good look from above. So many good matches taking place at the moment. Good stories. It's kind of in the heart of week 1, round 2. It's always fun this time of a major.
Love 15.
So many people have had an influence on this man's career. Of course, Riccardo Piatti, one of those that gets a lot of credit, but let's not forget the role Massimo Sartori played as well. I'm told in the early days Massimo was a pretty big influence. He was able to kind of initially help Sinner as he began to play more tennis. Massimo, who helped Andrea Seppi, didn't he? I'm sure someone you know well, Pekka. Pretty low-key guy himself was Andreas, wasn't he? Super friendly guy.
Yeah, also German speaking. That's my claim to fame, that I speak the same language as Jannik Sinner and Andreas Seppi.
Great career Seppi had.
Great depth here by Jannik Sinner, and you can just see him still struggling to find this rhythm out there. Remember, the last match against Jari was a completely different ball game. It was played during the day. It was very warm. There were barely any rallies with Jari's huge serve, who was going all out. So he's still sorting through his shots and his feel on the court.
Marco Panici second from the right there. New physical trainer, of course. Team Djokovic has been transferred to Team Sinner behind the scenes. Uli on the right, who's the physio. Those two spent a good deal of time with Novak. Making some inroads on the Sinner serve. Encouragingly. Enjoying himself in the early stages.
Advantage, Sinner.
There's that classic ace on a pressure point by Jannik Sinner, which you talked about earlier, Nick. The leader when it comes to break points saved and just in general winning big points, pressure points.
Cain, Sinner.
Changes made to his serve have been monumental, haven't they, really? And it's fascinating that Alcaraz is now tweaking his serve as well. I mean, not to say he wouldn't have done it anyway, but obviously these, you know, as you well know, Pekko, it feels like the greats of the game continue to challenge each other. But it's interesting that Alcaraz is looking to change the serve and get more out of his, because probably the one area of the game that is a fraction weaker than others.
Well, and it's funny that you mention it, because he's talked about this in his press conference, Carlos Alcaraz, that he loves having Jannik Sinner at #1, because every day in practice he thinks about how he can be better to get closer to Jannik Sinner. And I just love that type of mindset, that it's not a contention of stress for him, but a point of motivation. And that's why these two men play so well. Split the Grand Slam titles between them last year, of course.
Love.
That's what happens when you don't quite hit your spot on the serve, or what can happen.
led for service.
This is seriously impressive. Had a lot to do off the first volley, but didn't he do well?
40-15.
I really love seeing him come forward so much, Schoolkate. And this, you need some underarm strength to pull this off. Seems to be very natural at the net.
Seven from 7 now. Here's when he has come forwards. And he's living with the world #1 at the moment. And it's causing him some problems through the opening 5 games. And he holds on to a slender lead in the first.
And Nick, take a look at this. Tristan Schoolkate has come out firing. He's playing very, very well. And one of the reasons is this right here. Jannik Sinner, this is his rally placement. And have a look at the red dots. Those are the rally placement shots that he has lost the point after. And it's all the strength that we mentioned Schoolkate has. That's when it's a neutral ball through the center and around the center of the court. He can go around and use his forehand and dictate play from there on and find his way to the net. That's something Sinner should avoid from this moment on. I think one of these shots was this really nice backhand down the line.
Yep.
But all the rest was prepared with his forehand. Very good start by the Aussie.
Yeah, they're enjoying a bit of sunshine outside. Records broken daily here right now for attendance. The stadia, pretty much all of them have been full throughout the course of the day today. Sinner serving 2-3.
Love. Love.
What a wonderful exchange. And the Aussies loving it out here.
30-15.
Not many would have won that exchange from the position he was in, would they? With Sinner lining up a forehand there.
Yeah, really cat-like at the net, I want to say. Schoolkate, Schoolcat at the net.
slight misjudgment that's cost him dearly.
30 all.
Well, he's definitely found his rhythm on first serve, Jannik Sinner. He was hovering around the 50% for his opening 2 service games and now has upped that percentage to over 60% here. And another one.
Sinner. Three games all.
Just 11 mil in from the Italian. Helped his country win the Davis Cup at the end of last year. Once again. Over in Malaga, played a starring role there. What a good unit they are. Got about 3 different teams the Italians can field in fairness, such as their depth.
Yeah, finally something good happened there to Italian tennis. Incredible era
15
for the Italians right now.
Yeah, and everyone's trying to find the formula. It was interesting. I actually bumped into Claudio Pistolesi back end of last year. He was in Spain, and the Spanish Tennis Federation had invited him over to talk about the success of Italian tennis. So everybody wants to know the secrets, right?
Smart.
Yeah.
Well, and this is, just to keep in mind, this is the side that is breezier on Rod Laver Arena, the side that Schoolkate is on right now. He really needs a first serve on this side particularly, otherwise he could be under tremendous amount of pressure. You see it on his t-shirt here, whereas Jannik Sinner's shirt is quite calm on the other side.
Well, Pat Rafter's here this week. In fact, he's playing paddle tomorrow. He'd be pretty proud of these net approaches, wouldn't he? Because he was more an out-and-out serve and volley was Pat, but are you a paddle player, Petco?
40-15.
No, you and me both.
Very loyal to the sport of tennis.
I like it.
Neither paddle nor pickleball. I don't do P sports.
No. I have empathy.
Now, that's the one area that gives him problems, Schoolkate, when Jannik Sinner gets into his backhand with a lot of depth, especially off the return. Has been able to keep it at bay very well with a lot of first serves in.
Again, just giving him a different look, really, of return, taking that middle part of the court away. And this man continues to show us what he's all about. 4-3 his lead.
Time.
Melbourne Park in all its glory from up above. This opening set already half an hour. Sinner serving with new balls, yet to find a breakthrough.
Again, the same pattern that is working so well for Tristan Schoolkate. A neutral ball through the center of the court, uses the forehand to open possibilities, and then the finish at the net.
Just couldn't quite make the space for the swing, could he? But the idea was good. Nicely done by Jannik Sinner. I think that should be the way for him to sort of spread the court open, avoid that center. Nice serve out wide into the open court. That's when he is the one that dominates from the get-go.
Looking up at the light. First night match for him, of course, here this year. He played during the day a couple of days ago. And the one double against Jarry.
Cain, Sinner.
Couldn't have caught much of the line, but just enough.
4 games old.
4 millimeters of it was all that was required.
Nice change-up with the kick serve.
Some numbers for you to digest.
Wow.
In terms of
and he had the toughest first round for a seeded player. You mentioned it earlier. Nicolas Jarry was one of the first players not to be seeded.
There's that shot. With that little bit of court exposed, he's going to have to be careful.
so hard physically, didn't he, last year, to build the body, become stronger. Much more robust than he was 2 years ago. This goes like a magnet to the net.
15-all.
He's only 6 foot tall, is the Aussie, but he has quite the presence. 11 from 12. Continues to profit when moving in.
He's really finding his spots here on serve.
13-15.
Is Schoolkate. Not the biggest server, but boy, is he smart. And very precise. It's more like he uses it as a setup shot rather than going for an ace.
Mm-hmm.
And he does it so well.
They're loving it on Rod Laver Arena because their man is putting on some show here.
14-15.
First volley here was crucial. I feel in this day and age of players moving so well laterally that the shorter the first volley can be, almost the better, isn't it? Not always, but if you can take the pace out of the volley and keep it low, because of the way players move, it is pretty much, it can be a good option for you, one of the better ones.
Yeah, that's the shot, right? That's the shot that Schoolkate needs to be very careful about, and that Sinner will look to find more and more often. Off the second serve, taken early into the backhand of Tristan's. Has cost him a few points already.
Advantage, Schoolkate.
You rarely see him annoyed, but I feel like Jannik is a little annoyed here.
Definitely a bit flustered, isn't he?
Yeah. And the first two bad unforced errors in this game for Schoolkate.
Always feels like the approach from where he hit it down the line is a bit tougher there, isn't it? Because you feel like Sinner's going that way, so maybe he just feels a little bit more pressure to do something with it. Great movement, isn't it? He's gambled. Pat Cash liked it. He knew a thing or two about that.
Advantage, Schoolkate.
Yeah, his patience is really remarkable, even with his serve, but also with his first volley. He sets it up for the next one when he can do something with it. He's really reliving the old Aussie traditional tennis here with those net attacks. Nice to see.
Yeah, good point.
Maybe he knew Pat Cash was going to be there. Again, that one. That's the only one
Use.
that has really troubled him so far. Other than that, he's been hanging quite nicely with Jannik Sinner.
Advantage, Schoolkate.
First ace for the 23-year-old. Superb. And there's a gap in terms of the rankings, but there is no such gap on court at the moment. It's 5-4 opening set.
And Nick, we talked about Jannik Sinner's level-headedness, but this man right here equals him in this very nice, patient approach to the game. Seems to have a very good head. Very excited to see what's to come for him this season.
Time.
World's best is always going to carry a target on your back, isn't it? Sinner has been able to deal with that seemingly pretty comfortably over the last year or so. He's taking some shots tonight.
Lap 15.
Another return. His level of offense has been exceptional. And he's got Sinner on the ropes here. Some game, some set. And Tristan Schoolkate has got 3 set points. remarkable. In many ways, a sink or swim environment for the young Aussie.
Love 15.
Couple of incredible forehands because he didn't have a lot of time on either of them.
Finding so much depth off that shot that Jannik Sinner doesn't seem to have the time to set up for his powerful ground strokes at all.
Yeah, worth remembering Sinner had won 29 straight sets prior to the one he's just lost.
In fact, the last time he lost the match was on October 2nd. Do you know what you did on October 2nd? Probably not. That's how long ago it is.
Exactly.
Well, in Germany we say luck is on the side of the disciplined. And discipline, he is for sure Jannik Sinner.
Wasn't a bad volley again, was it? Check this out. Carve that into the corner. It's kind of how good it's got to be right now. Great game. Let's get into the coaching setup from Tristan's perspective. Simon Ray, who does a lot of work, of course, with us and also for TA and also with Tristan's put his headset on. So great to have you on. This is mightily impressive, more so than even you expected tonight.
Hey, Nick. Hey, Andrea. Good to be with you guys. Yeah, I think it's been a superb start, hasn't it? And clearly been really well prepared from the team, Andrew and Dirk and the Tennis Australia team. But to the young man's credit, it's him out there in the arena and he's executing at a superb level right now.
Quick, I know you'll be quick here, but talk about his personality. Are you surprised he's dealing with this as well as he is?
Well, Robbo thought he'd handled the occasion really well, and he's been spot on, the coach. So he's been nothing but impressive in the opening set, but as we know, against the best player on the planet, a long way to go. We're just getting started.
Brilliant. Thanks, Si.
Cheers, guys.
What's going through this man's mind right now, do you think? Because we talk about how focused he is. He's been a winning machine, and yet this isn't necessarily normal for him at the moment.
I do think he's flustered. I watch so many Jannik Sinner matches, and I watch him very closely, and I can just sense that there is some annoyance. Of course, not only with how well his opponent is playing, but also with himself. I think he's not quite feeling his serve yet, not 100% secure in his ground strokes quite yet. And on top of this, his opponent, Tristan Schoolkate, is probably playing the tennis of his life right now. And the combination of these two things has just has just thrown him off his game right now. And I think a big rally, like a big shot where he sets up and cracks a forehand, will just get him out of his shell right now and will be able to turn things around for him mentally. But Schoolkate is not making it easy because he's so aggressive from the get-go.
Reminds me a little bit, this match, of a match on centre court at Wimbledon last year between Jacob Fernley and Novak Djokovic. Not too many people gave Jacob a chance that day. He was ranked 180 or something coming in, and he nearly took Djokovic to 5. And it's a bit of a cliche, but it does speak to the level that operates in this sport now. That, again, no disrespect, but if you're ranked 150, 180, you're a heck of a player. Simple as that. You may not be where you want to be ranking-wise, but you've got skills. And for whatever reason, you're not able to necessarily get up to this man's level. Not many have, but there's serious depth.
Well, and he has won a lot of matches last year on the Challengers Tour. He won 44 matches last year in total. And it doesn't matter on which level, whether it's ATP or Challenger level, those are matches won. That's confidence built. Those are little steps taken towards a better future, hopefully. And he's shown all of it today. This was a fairly simple game for Jannik Sinner. And maybe this will settle him down a bit.
Love 15.
I just wish for him that he would take one huge crack at one of the ground strokes. Even this backhand return was sort of almost guided rather than when we see him play at his best. And he's just swinging freely.
It's inhibited a little bit, isn't it?
Inhibited is the right word, yes.
Great feel. Sinner was on his way to this pretty rapidly. Clarity of thought as well. Sensational.
Yeah, perfect technique. Moves his body into the shot. Oftentimes when you want to hit a drop shot, your instinct is to go back with your body because you're slowing down the arm, but he has very good technique.
Let's have a look at the +1 numbers for him today. It's pretty good. Was up in, I think, the 80s at the early part of the match, but obviously it's a big part of his game. Trying to look to dominate with the forehand.
And this is against one of the best returners of the game here. That's outstanding numbers, really. this. I really did, because he backed out. He took a few steps back, but that gave him the chance to take a huge swing at the return. You can see it here. This is a full follow through. He's really taking a crack at it. And I think he needs to do that to shake the tension out of his muscles. There is a little bit of tension there, and it needs to be shaken off.
Insight into his mind. Got him backing off for once, didn't he?
That last forehand was a glimpse of what Jannik Sinner is able to produce. Let's take a look here. This is a full, you can see it in his arm, right? When he's fully hitting the ball, 153 kilometers an hour with the forehand. Some of us are not able to serve this with their first serve, this type of number. And some of these people sit in this booth right now.
Advantage, Schoolkate. Use.
Paolo Lorenzi, back left there, just grabbing his ear. Great player he was. Made the most of his skills, didn't he? What a workhorse this guy was. Of course, now tunnel director in Rome, before Italico. It's a bucket list event to go to, isn't it? What was that like as a player, playing Rome?
It's the best tournament. It is the best tournament, one of the best, of course.
Behind the Australian Open,
Behind
of course.
the Australian Open, yes. Second best.
Well, some difficulties in that game, but he's able to shake them off nicely. Tristan Schoolkate is up a 7-2-1 on the world #1 here.
And this is impressive stuff, Nick, because after such a big set, you've played your best tennis. Usually the intensity drops off a bit, you relax, you're relieved that you're finding your best tennis. Not so for Schoolkate. He continues to do exactly what he needs to do, executing a beautiful game plan. I don't think there was one rally where he let Jannik Sinner do his thing. Very impressive.
It's nice. A bit of decoration there. Yes. It's very palatable.
Definitely more palatable than Schoolkate's game today because, wow, a handful Jannik Sinner has on his plate today.
Certainly does.
La 15.
It was a little central, that first serve, wasn't it? And it kind of got the treatment, really. Taking a little bit of extra time here. Understandably so. To it. Too much pressure eventually from Sinner.
And Nick, he surely must be thinking, when is Schoolkate going to come back to earth, right? That must be going through his mind, because Tristan has been playing outstanding tennis, so good. But I do think he should try and make this happen, right?
Yes.
Make him come back to earth rather than wait for him to come back to earth, because he doesn't look like he's playing out of his range. He's just making right decisions at all times.
Yes.
It doesn't feel like he's just swinging around. He's doing the right things.
Gets a lot of pace out of that serve for a guy only 6 foot tall. I think his average first serve speed today, 194.
And maybe this is the way. This was a slight mishit by Sinner, and it went up with a bit of spin into the backhand of Schoolkate to give him something different, play a bit higher. He has the ability. They've worked on the variety in his game.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember situations in your career, Petko, where you were the high-ranked player by a significant margin and someone was playing exceptionally well against you, and now that made you feel at the time
Definitely, yeah, and especially in women's tennis, you don't have the best of 5, right? So you panic even earlier. And that's what I mean, like you kind of hope they will come back to earth, but that's almost dangerous because you forget
to make it happen yourself.
To make it happen yourself, exactly, because you think, well, they can't. If they were playing like this, they would be surely top 20 or top 10. Why aren't they ranked higher? And those are thoughts that you need to push aside. And I mean, we're talking about one of the mentally strongest players out here in Jannik Sinner. He knows all that, but sometimes when you're out there on court, you can be overwhelmed by some situations. Oh, that's a big miss. Nice smile.
Yeah.
He is not concerned by it at all.
Yet to be broken. There's the points one behind the second serve in this set. Finds that serve again, goodness me. He has kept it pretty tight to the lines this evening.
That's nice, isn't it? That's very nice. That's pretty good groupings there, right? Yeah, I think so. That's nice.
Second serve getting a bit hurt at the moment.
Use.
5 of 12 in this set, 9 of 24 now. That was a shot to nothing on the run.
And it does feel like Sinner is winning a few more points in the ad court now, where still he hasn't quite found a way in on the deuce court on this positioning right here. Schoolkate serving again so precisely and accurately. It's a good pace, but it's not an outrageous pace, but it's so precise. There's really nothing you can do about it. That's beautiful.
Use.
Rushed him into the backhand side, then gets the short one.
Sinner is gesturing towards his corner in a manner that suggests he's exasperated with what's going on here. Not surprised.
Well, Nick, he has found a way on the ad side. Now, what to do on the deuce side. And now he wants to see, look at him. He wants to see what to close down. That's why he's looking into the box, gesturing. And the last 3 serves of Schoolkate came through the tee. Do you close the tee now or do you protect the wide? It's too good. You just have to accept it.
Yes, fully invested.
Advantage, Schoolkate.
Look at that serve and volley points won. 10 of 12. And he continues to keep Sinner at arm's length. And the crowd are loving this because the Australian remains unbroken. And up a set in 3-2. Well, we talked about his serve, Petko. Let's have a look at how good it's been.
It's been very good. That's obvious. And I think we see here in the numbers why Jannik Sinner has seemed to find a way on the ad side, because it is a little less precise on that side. But take a look on the deuce. Everything is so close to the line. There's virtually nothing Jannik Sinner can do, except I think in big moments he has to close the tee and just let the wide one go.
Yeah.
And the coaches have the ability to look at their iPads and see these numbers. And I do think there will come a tip eventually to Jannik to close that tee down on deuces.
Lowest ranked player, incidentally, to defeat a world #1 at a major. I've just been told was Andre Olchowski, who was ranked 193 at the time. He beat Jim Courier, who was ranked 1 at the time. Wimbledon in 1992. So there you go, the factoid for you.
Not Jim Courier.
(30-15). (40-15).
A couple of aces in the game aid his cause, and the new balls are coming out.
3 games on.
So we're locked at 3s.
It does feel like Jannik Sinner is getting through his service games a bit easier in the second set here. Finding his first serve more frequently. But what to do about this deuce side when Schoolkate is serving, you must be thinking.
There's 5 points on his own serve so far. Sinner in this set.
Love 15. Love 13.
The pressure is growing here on this Western Australian. Sinner getting it into the back end off the serve for once. And is this just one of the signs that the cracks are beginning to appear? And he's answered the bell every single time.
Love 14.
It's been so assured when he's come forwards.
And this is something you hear very rarely, and it speaks for Tristan Schoolkate's performance today. The first break point of the match for Sinner after a set and a half has passed.
He's got it. And could that see a shift here of the pendulum? World number one has not had it his own way at all tonight. But he's now got himself a break, 4-3.
Time.
Sun setting in Melbourne on what's been a nice afternoon out there. And some great tennis still developing elsewhere on the outside courts. Italian might be about to win as well, because Lorenzo Sonego is a couple of points away from beating João Fonseca in the 5th. It's all happening tonight. Pressure again coming off that forehand side.
15.
So well done. Kept Jannik Sinner in the backhand side until he had the shot that he wanted to.
Tough on that when your body's moving that way to hit the backhand, isn't it?
Yeah, and Jannik Sinner is redirecting his second serves a bit more into the body. And Schoolkate has lost his way a bit on those second serve. Remember in the first set, he was making so many pressure returns off that second serve.
Clinical and efficient, just how he likes it.
Well, Nick, and we talked about how inhibited Jannik Sinner seemed in the first set and how he was playing with almost a handbrake, not really hitting through the ball. Well, our Bolt 6 guys have all the numbers to underline what we think we see, up by a lot the average topspin forehand speed of Sinner, and then things look completely different. Schoolkate can't dictate play any longer.
Yeah, and what that'll call, I mean, it does many things, doesn't it? But a good example there is it just gives him a bit less time on the ball, first and foremost. And as he looked to try and change direction there, he wasn't quite as comfortable. Carved out.
And this is exactly what happens the moment Sinner takes a bit out. Tristan Schoolkate all over any neutral ball that he gets. This is short in the court, takes it on the rise. Beautiful, simple shot, that forehand side.
First service.
Deadly. Its delivery in terms of its placement again. The unreturned serve numbers. Schoolkate at 34% serves unreturned for this match. Sinner close to 50, so still quite a big gap in that regard. Lovely finish to the game from a somewhat unheralded Australian. Who finds himself down a break, though, in the second.
Well, and Nick, not only has the speed of Jannik Sinner's forehand changed, it has gone up a lot in the second set, but take a look at his directions of the ball. Remember in the first set, a lot of the balls was centered around the center of the court. That's when Schoolkate can go around and use his brilliant forehand that's been working so well for him today. And he's still losing some of those shots that are not going into the backhand quite accurately enough. Needs to be careful on that, but he's doing a much better job in getting into the sidelines, and particularly getting into the backhand of Schoolkate has really changed the set around.
Time.
He's enjoyed every moment so far of being out on the biggest stage of his career as Tristan Schoolkate. Previously, he'd only ever played 2 top 50 players in his career. One of those was a couple of weeks ago in Adelaide, where he lost to Echeverry. But he has given the world #1 all he can handle. But the defending champion serving to square us up.
Love. Let it. For service.
The over-aggressive second.
To me, that's somehow a good sign. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it just feels like he's found his inner equilibrium again, Jannik Sinner, and the confidence to just go for his second serve no matter what happens.
$30-15.
For once, just didn't look overly balanced, did he, as he struck that shot? Whether that had the wind have anything to do with it, I don't know, but...
Yeah, it looked like it got halted or something, because he's rarely ever not in quite the position to strike the ball, and it looked like he was quite far away, actually, in this regard. So maybe the wind just stopped the ball where it was.
It's a whisker away. Didn't he do well to hang on for as long as he did?
40-13.
Crowd were willing that one to bend a little more, weren't they? Set point for the world's best. He's done very well indeed, because he's had pretty much everything thrown at him tonight. Jannik Sinner among them, without breaking the top 100 just yet. almost, let's not forget, made the third round of the US Open. Easy to forget that. And Tristan Schoolkate.
Love 15.
He's got the wild card into the US Open as part of the reciprocal arrangement. Lost to Mensik 6 in the 5th in the second round, so could so easily have made the third round in New York. I think we're seeing why.
Yeah, I saw that match actually. I saw that last set, and it was
15.
actually incredible quality of play, as we can see today with Tristan and yesterday with Jakub Mensik, who are both playing great tennis here at the Australian Open. Battled it out. Court 11, I think it was.
Mensik beating Casper Ruud last night, as Petko says.
That second serve is just starting to become a bit shaky here for Schoolkate. First serve still looking great and very accurate.
Found a way to stay in that point and turn it around impressively.
Still a bit agitated, Jannik Sinner on the other side.
There's pressure points won there. See, coming up right here being one of those. He's played them well so far as the Australian.
Oh, that's a brilliant return.
30-40.
So much depth through the center of the court, no angle.
Sinner's beginning to impose himself. And that could be ominous
First game
for the Australian. Early break is his. One of the obvious factors is the court position, isn't it? Schoolkate so often in the first set and a half was up inside the baseline, wasn't he? But he's not there right now because of what Sinner's improvements he's made.
And this volley even got a standing ovation from Darren Cahill. Even though it was a bit short, 1.5 seconds, I feel like a 3-second standing ovation was merited here.
15 love.
When you say you talked about them improving the volley, Petko, or improving his net game, are they improving the volley technically, do you think? Are they improving the transitional movement? Are they trying to influence him in terms of how to look for that move? What is it? Because it's a kind of a throwaway comment for us to say, oh yeah, his net game's improving.
True, yeah.
But there's different components to it, aren't there?
There are, yeah, and it's actually, you're spot on, it's actually the transitioning game. Maybe that's a more accurate word for it, the transitioning game. Darren was saying that all of these tennis players have become such impeccable athletes that it's so hard to hit a winner off the baseline just by doing so. And so you need to look for those shorter balls and then naturally move forward. Like this, for example, he could have used that if he had hit it down the line. He could have maybe used it as a transitional shot, and that's something that he's still developing an instinct for. Let's take a look. This was a short return. If he goes inside out, could close the net afterwards. Didn't do so, and Schoolkate took full advantage. So that's something that they are trying to evolve, the instinct for when to come forward, what to close at the net, how to move.
Lent for service.
That was something that was so impressive with Mensik last night, wasn't it, Pekka? We both watched that. It feels like for him it is so natural at the moment, and that's great to be that age and have that in your DNA in tennis play.
And these sort of unforced errors, they are all residue from that first set when Jannik Sinner was shaken a bit by the impressive play of his opponents. Just rhythm-breaking tennis.
Yeah.
Just didn't give him any rhythm, and that's what you see now the residue of with those unforced errors.
Muscle control of this match. He's the world's best. Of course, had won 29 sets in a row prior to losing the opener here. Such had been his dominance in that last quarter of the season. Winning the tour finals in Turin in very impressive fashion. He's feeling it, isn't he?
Yeah, he's feeling it. And he mostly serves that kick,
yes.
right? It's always kind of the same. It's very predictable. So Jannik Sinner has been able to pick it up early and direct it into the backhand of Schoolkate. He's feeling that kind of pressure. That's where the double faults are coming from.
For service.
like he couldn't miss for an hour or so. Felt like he was the one dictating the outcome of so many rallies, but again, you just sense he's just feeling as though the time is not quite there that it was earlier on in the match for him. Case in point.
15-14.
Great length from Sinner, suffocating.
Yeah, it's a combination of the adjustment steps, those little steps being not quite as dynamic as they were in the first set, and the increased speed of ground stroke by the other side, by Jannik Sinner. Just speeding things up for Schoolkate, and by that minimizing the time to decide and make the correct shot selection.
Stretched him out, and he stretched his lead here. Jannik Sinner is beginning to wrestle control. Double break already in the third. The world number one in the driving seat.
Yeah, he has truly found his range here in the third set as Jannik Sinner. You can just see in the way he strikes the ball how much more confident it is, and by extension how much more powerful on the other side.
40-15.
Again, just forced to move backwards off the return. He took it early, but didn't really deliver anything with it, and he was left rather exposed. This shot. Can't leave the ball there, can you?
Always a good sign if you're a Jannik Sinner fan when he does the one-legged half jump on the backhand side.
Love.
When you look at the development of the Australian, because he didn't really play a full season professionally until 2022, 3 years ago. It's the first time he played a good number of matches. Obviously COVID, I'm sure, had something to do with that. There was an injury as well, but 2022 was the first year that Schoolkate played a full season. So really has only been sort of 3 years in terms of his life as a professional.
30-15.
They say, I think the average time for a professional to break the top 100, I think, is about 4.5 years. Certainly was when I checked it last. I know the ITF did some research on that, so
Thank you.
he's probably, I guess in terms of his development, ranking-wise, not far off where you'd expect him to be. Last year on tour, there were 20 different players that broke the top 100 for the first time in the men's game. This year, I think it was about 22, so it's an indication. It doesn't necessarily mean they stayed there, but 20 was the number of players that got into double figures for the first time. Wasn't happening in the opening set.
Yeah, no, he was really rushed whenever Schoolkate appeared at the net, so missed a bunch of those passing shots. Now has a lot more clarity and calm within him to see the opening. But I will say that when I went through Schoolkate's last season, 2024, I did feel like he played quite few tournaments compared to some others.
Are you suggesting too many?
No, too little.
Oh, too few. Too few. Okay,
yes, yes. He was playing. He was not playing much. So I do think maybe injuries, sicknesses.
Well, if he plays like this going forwards, he's asking for a bit of love from the crowd. Surely we'll see him back here next year with a higher ranking. Time will tell. 4-1.
Sinner leads by 4 games to 1.
Yeah, I think I meant I see the potential in him with this, with how late he's come on tour and how little matches he's played on the ATP Tour, really. He's played on the Challengers Tour mostly, but whenever he has played on the ATP Tour, he's shown some great tennis, so I do think there is still a lot in store for him for the future, only 23 years old.
Yeah, only played 5 events on the main tour prior to this week. That's main draw I'm talking about.
Time.
Beautiful city of Melbourne, opening its doors this week to the tennis elite. They have come in their thousands, have the fans, each and every day. Fantastic major this has become. So much to enjoy here on site at Melbourne Park.
Love 15.
If the Rocky is unbothered. Oh, not quite a catch.
Been in the umpire's chair for many years as Eva, isn't she? Sinner once again very much looking like his old self on serve in this set. Just 4 points lost. Similar case in the second. Trying to get after it. Just slightly mistimed his step, almost his split step by the look of it.
What do you think, Nick? Can Schoolkate find something within himself to turn this around or bring back the tennis from the first set? Or is just Jannik Sinner now too powerful for him to have the time to make those decisions?
I feel like the latter. I mean, I think the first couple of games of the fourth are going to be fairly decisive, aren't they? If you can come out with the level of tennis we saw from him, but it's not in his hands necessarily, is it? And that's a challenge for him right now. Again, when the accuracy of the serve drops off, you can see how suddenly he's having to hit a backhand as the first shot, isn't he? And that's trouble because it's not nearly as potent.
Love 13.
Excellent slice. Control that well.
15-30. For service.
Oh, stunner. Oh, well, as he just maneuvered that around the corner.
And I thought that first volley was incredible by Schoolkate. Jannik Sinner just in full stretch, and he possesses that ability to just flick his wrists on his backhand side. What he did here.
Brings up a set point. A game of cat and mouse, and this time Sinner it is that has the last laugh. He was under extreme pressure for the opening hour, but an hour on, it's a different story. He's up 2-1.
15-love.
It was a tough ask. It was a clever shot from Aussie.
And a lot hangs in these first few games for both men. Schoolkate trying to turn his fortune around, and Jannik Sinner would just have to see whether there is any residue from that first set shock. And Schoolkate came out absolutely firing. But it sure looks like he has found his strength again.
30-15.
There's no greater strength really in this sport almost right now than that shot. Unbreakable at times last year he was. wrestle the momentum in his favour if possible here. Sinner worried again. He's taken one of his rackets out.
Just the wrong one.
Yeah, exactly.
First game, fourth set.
Obviously, we often talk about the challenges of coming from this part of the world as a professional tennis player.
I don't know, really. I don't know how any players from Asia Pacific do it.
Yeah. And I think we're going to quickly go down to Simon Ray, who we joined earlier on at 1-love in the second. Si, a pretty big shift. Anything in the numbers or anything you've seen down there that you've picked up of the changes?
Well, you just pay an absolute premium for missing even slightly on serve location against a guy that can return like this, don't you? And that's been the case across the last couple of sets. So I heard you say, Nick, we'll try and arrest the momentum and see if we can get back in the fight here in this fourth set.
Keys for the fourth from your perspective, Si, very briefly.
Well, it starts with that right there. First serve location, there's an absolute premium on that. Needs to continue to be aggressive, easier said than done, and a little bit of variety as well with the use of the slice backhand, etc.
Brilliant. Thanks, Si.
Thanks, guys.
And this is really the moment of truth here for Schoolkate. This first service game has to try and keep in this whichever way possible.
Just to finish the point we were making about obviously coming from here, South America, I think as well, Pekka. I've spoken to a few South Americans there. They're a long way from home as well.
It's crazy.
It sounds obvious to say, but it's not easy getting home, is it? So many of these events. Because you're also thinking about the impact on the following weeks, aren't you, with another 8-9 hour flight there and back and the time change, and I guess you've got to weigh it up. Part and parcel of tour life. Here is Simon alongside Coach Andrew Roberts, steering the ship of this man's career right now. If he does end up losing today, he'll be around the 150 mark in the world. So still won't be out of those challenges just yet. Some work to be done to keep climbing the ladder. But I guess for him, Pekka, the key has been actually capitalising on this time of year, because he's going to get opportunities like he has done here with the wildcard. So he has capitalised on that, which is all you can ask.
Yeah, exactly. He has had a great first round win. And I just think mentally this match will do him a lot of good. He knows what his type of game will have to be to make it big. Just has to watch the tape of the first set and a half where he played absolute brilliant tennis. Had the world #1 in the ropes.
But the script has rather flipped right now. There's the crew. Simone Vagnozzi, probably doesn't get quite as much credit as he deserves, because Darren's obviously a higher profile figure.
And that's what I really like about Darren, that I've interviewed him a few times, and he always mentions Simone, always says, well, I'm not alone. This is my partner. We do 50-50. Simone has done an incredible job with Jannik Sinner. And you just mentioned the travel, Nick. For Asia Pacific, South America, it's horrendous, but it's also tough for Europeans and Americans, for all tennis players. And Simone Vagnazzi is a close friend of Jannik Sinner's, and I think it's good to have a friend with you in this lonely sport.
Were you someone that embraced it, Petko? The sort of, did it over time, did it affect you at all, or did you just love the travel?
I actually really love traveling. That was my big advantage. And I've seen many tennis players fall by the wayside. They were much more talented than I was, but they didn't like traveling. They didn't want to be away from home. And there is so much more to being a tennis player than just the abilities on the court. You have to be able to sustain this crazy lifestyle of a traveling circus week in, week out for 11 months a year.
You've got to enjoy being a nomad, haven't you?
40-15.
Looking comfortable now is Jannik Sinner, the Italian, is on track to reach round 3. I think it was Darren Cahill, I'm sure it was, who also said something to Ray Purton. He said, you've got to learn how to lose in tennis. And I sort of thought a lot about that, and you'll be able to tell me more, but you sort of think, oh, it doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? But I think, you know, again, I guess learn to recover from losses might be a better phrase.
Yeah, that's the crazy. So that's why it's so absurd for anyone who's played tennis that Jannik Sinner has only lost 6 matches last season. Because usually you lose 6 matches within the first 2 months.
Yeah.
And you have to just move on.
Marcus Giron, it is, that has come through in this section of the draw. He's had a good win today, beat Thomas Echeverry in 5, 6-4 in the 5th. That's some victory for the American, the Californian. He will await the winner of this one.
Let first service.
Based down in San Diego, I believe, is Marcus.
And I will say that in the first set, it did come into play a little bit that they never played each other, because when you have played players, you get a feeling for their favorite serves, for their patterns, and you could just tell that Jannik didn't know what to cover at all, whereas now he seems to be in the right spot almost every single time when it comes to his return. Has really flipped the entire match around.
15.
Held that forehand nicely. Waited for Sinner to go.
And just another number from bolt 6 to underline how the script has flipped, as you said it, Nick. Here are the numbers on average second serve return speed, and on top of the difference in speed, Schoolkate's second serve is very predictable. It's always the kick serve into the backhand. And Jannik Sinner has started to read it brilliantly, to take it early, and has another opportunity here. Right on time for our bolt 6 guys.
Far away. That would have been extra special.
30-40.
Look at the slide. Wanted to make it.
Length for service.
And of course, there's a lot of pressure on this first serve for Schoolkate now, because he knows how precise it needs to be.
Advantage, Sinner.
He was playing top 10 tennis, wasn't he, for the first set and a half?
Absolutely. I would agree with that statement 100%.
Maintaining it has been the challenge. I want to keep himself out here as long as possible. 2022. The more time you spend with the elite, the more you're going to learn, aren't you, about where your game's at. Picking up plenty, I'm sure.
Advantage, Schoolkate.
Feel the legs have gone a bit, haven't they?
Yeah, it seems it. And what is very obvious now is that it seems like Schoolkate needs to make a difference in the first two shots. If he doesn't make a difference there, a big impact to either attack the net or really put Jannik Sinner on a stretch, he's in trouble the longer the points go.
Forced a guess there.
Advantage, Sinner.
It wasn't going the right way. Now, there was a change up of the second serve direction. It's taken him a while, and Sinner was caught by it.
Advantage, Schoolkate.
Just trying to keep the depth and over pressing because of it. And look at that number. That's quite a big difference. Over a third more points he's had to play on his own deal out here.
Advantage, Sinner.
Beautiful. Well, he has wound the crowd with his net attacks throughout a set and a half. And this one was one for the books. Just absolute textbook tennis from Schoolkate here.
Yeah, his idol, he said, actually, growing up was Joe Wilfried Tsonga. He used to love watching Tsonga play.
Well played by Jannik Sinner, but Schoolkate now has finally started to mix in the slice serve as a second a little bit. And just take a look at the flick of the wrists by Jannik Sinner. There's just a little bit of a wrist action on it, and that's how he drops the ball into the feet of his opponent.
Left for service.
England defence kept it so low, made the attack from Sinner a little harder.
Use.
Trying to get on the board in this fourth set. 26 points on serve he has in this set. Sinner only played 11.
Advantage, Schoolkate.
They've worn to him, haven't they? He's given them plenty to cheer about. Embracing the moment as well. Actually looking at where he'll be. We talked about it. In fact, he'll be around 150 in the world for this man after assuming he loses today. Ranking wise, points, if you look at sort of how far that is from the top 100, you see a lot depends on how you've got to defend, but current player ranked 150 is, I can tell you, about 250 points off the 100th ranked player in terms of actual points. A fraction under, about 230 points, ATP points, between 150 and 100. And you think of the challenges, obviously different categories of challenges. There's 75s, 125s, fairly simple. A number equates to how many points you get for winning it. So win a couple of challenges, easier said than done, massively so. But if he can, he's already won one, so continue to improve at that level, take this forwards. You never know.
Second service.
Depth, as we know, though, is very, very strong. We'll see. It'll be fun to follow his journey, won't it, over the next few months. His journey here in Melbourne, though, looks as though it's going to be cut short.
Time.
air of inevitability about the outcome of this match now, but the Australian hanging in there. 1-4, fourth set.
15-love.
Good news, as we said, he'll have a bit of extra money to play with, won't he, after this week? $200,000 to spend on his tennis, minus a bit of tax.
And he's found some precision again in his first serve. We talked to Simon Ray after the first game of this set, and he spoke on that part of Schoolkate's game that was so impressive in that first set.
Lovely touch from Sinner.
Because you can tell when he does play volleys, his form is actually really good. There is nothing wrong with his technique.
40,
If they can strengthen that transitioning game of his tennis, maybe he will lose only 3 matches this year.
Frightening thought. Previous service game was 12 minutes. That was take 10 off it. Quick hold, just what he wanted.
And that T-serve is really his money serve. Tristan Schoolkate.
Yes, he's got the crowd riled up again here. He's got the opening point as Sinner gets one fly. Just kept himself in the conversation in this fourth set by the skin of his teeth.
He has this unique ability, Jannik Sinner. The moment when you gain a bit of hope to just dryly shut it right off, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It feels like the moment you think, oh, maybe I have a way into this, he just shuts it down.
Yeah. We'll find out if he can do it again here.
15-13.
some different looks again.
Yeah, you can see how important that is. The entire Sinner crew on their feet. As the wise Boris Becker said, you cannot win a Grand Slam in the first week, but you sure can lose it. As poor Daniil Medvedev had to find out last year here on exactly this court. Left so much out there in the first week that it wasn't quite enough in the end to close it out.
Just a fraction slower out to the forehand, and because of that, he was a little late to the ball. Jannik Sinner almost been out there 3 hours. He'll be close to it when all is said and done. But it's a game away now from securing victory. How is Boris? You've got a new podcast, haven't you, Pekka?
Yes, a German podcast, though, with Boris. Well, and he says these things like what I just mentioned. You can't win a Grand Slam in the first week, but you sure can lose it. He's, by the way, a huge fan of Jannik Sinner, not only because of what he does on court, but also of the... He seems to have a big picture about his career.
Yeah.
The people he hires, the way he schedules his tournaments, his season. He seems to be almost always the freshest he can be at tournaments, and that's so hard to do as a tennis player because the season is so long. And Boris really, really loves that.
Won both hardcourt majors last year, did Sinner. Only 4 players in the Open era have actually won 3 straight hardcourt majors. I'll give you the names in a moment. Saw him coming. Lovely. Yeah, Federer, Djokovic, no surprise there. Lendl and Johnny Mack. The 4 players in the Open era to have won 3 straight hardcourt majors. Sinner looking to achieve that here. He's embraced it. And he's been centre stage tonight. And he really has made the most of it. Intelligent volley again. He just kicks the pace out of it. Anything you think he needs to improve? I mean, I know it's a one-off tonight, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what do you think to him to break the top 100, Petko? This has been. What would you be sort of looking at for him to develop?
For me, it's the backhand and the second serve. And I don't think at the backhand. Let's listen to the crowd go crazy first. I do think that the backhand, when it's under duress, sort of, he doesn't swing through it anymore. He sort of halts the shot midway through. I think that's something that could be easily amended. I think the second serve needs to be less predictable and a tad bit quicker. I think 108 kilometers per hour on average is not enough. And other than that, maybe the movement, because he wants to play forehand so much, he needs to be really, if you think about somebody like Carlos Alcaraz, who's so strong because he wants to take the forehand so much, those areas. But then I do see definitely a lot of potential in him. But it's been all Jannik Sinner for the past 2 sets and a half.
Barrage from the back from the world #1. Had some different looks come at him tonight. Some looks perhaps that he hadn't seen before, hadn't expected anyway, from an unknown, somewhat unknown opponent. But he's got himself match points. It's a 16th win in succession for Jannik Sinner. A night of new challenges, but a night where he's able to overcome them. Tristan Schoolkate was outstanding. And let's hope we get to see a little bit more of the Aussie going forwards. But the world's best delivers and is through to round 3.
Solid performance by Jannik Sinner, and I'm certain he will want to up his game, but that was a big task. You can see the sigh of relief put to him by this man right here, Tristan Schoolkate. And I wonder what he can do on grass. Imagine with those volleys and that precise serve, that will be very fun to watch. But it is Jannik Sinner who prevails once more. Forza Jannik, indeed. Showed glimpses of his genius.
Yeah, and when you're the world's best, you're there to be shot at, aren't you? You're there to go after, and this man did a really good job of that. He threw everything out there, didn't he?
Through the kitchen sink.
Rightly taking the acclaim. First main draw win here in Melbourne a few days ago. It'll be a new career high ranking after that. In the meantime, we're going to hear from the winner, who's going to be speaking with John McEnroe.
Jannik, well done. Slow start. First question, though. You're both 23 years old. Did you know Tristan from the juniors? Were you familiar with his game, or have you seen him play much before?
No, because I haven't played so many juniors, so...
Whoops.
But, you know, it's always tough to play against, you know, a player I don't know very well. I felt like he was serving really well. He was playing much better in the beginning than I was. Obviously, you know, with the crowd, it was an amazing atmosphere. So thank you so much for coming as always. It's a very special place, especially for the Australians to play here with the home crowd. But you know, I have to be you know, very happy still, you know, for my performance. It's you know, never taking things you know, granted. So I'm very glad to be again in the next round.
I'm assuming that you saw Daniil Medvedev and Novak play a couple unknowns as well. So I'm sure your team got you prepared. Be ready for a guy. Maybe this guy can come out and play, because he was playing lights out for a set and a half.
Yes, exactly. You know, we saw this in not only in these tournaments. I feel like, you know, in every tournament there is always, you know, someone who comes in and he just plays very well. So, you know, as I said, every round here is very tough. Everyone who is, you know, in the first round or second round or third round deserves to be there. So, you know, it's again, it was a very tough match. I can improve, yes. You know, we saw this today. I was struggling a bit with the wind. It was quite breezy, but yeah, I take it. You know, it was a good chance also to have the honor to play here in the evening and night session in such a beautiful court. So it was amazing.
I know it's a bit of a roller coaster in Melbourne, the weather, but conditions are pretty cool. It was windy. How difficult was that for you to deal with it? Because that seemed to get you a little bit under your skin a little bit, shall we say. Conditions.
Yes, it was, as we saw, I was struggling, and so usually on this court it's always from this end to there. The wind, it was again today the case. It was a bit, you know, breezy, but you know, it's obviously much better to play in these courts here than in the outside courts, because there is even worse. So yeah, it's let's see. You know, conditions can change. Every day can be very difficult. You know, it can change also the level from each player. So let's see what's coming. But happy to be again in the next round, and then we see. Hopefully, I can raise my level.
I'm assuming your life has changed so much. You know, you come here as #1 seed. This is the first time that you're defending a Grand Slam title. Your first Australian title was here at the Australian Open last year. How is that different for you? How do you handle that?
Yeah, it's definitely a different feeling, but you know, so many beautiful moments on and off the court, you know, happened to me here in this beautiful place. So, you know, it's different, but you know, I take it, you know, as a chance to hopefully, you know, do it again. But you know, it's still a very long way to go. We go day by day. You know, seeing today my level, we know that we can improve, which is the most important, and hopefully I can show this in the next round, and then hopefully it's going to be again a great tournament for me.
Well, I'm pretty emotional. You know, generally, you know, when I've been in Italy, Italians express themselves. You are able to control yourself so well. I want to know how you do it.
We can say we are a bit different, me and you.
Okay.
But it shows that, you know, everyone is different. Everyone has his own mentality. I have mine. I have to say I'm quite happy with my one. But
what are you saying?
Oh, I think we stop here. I think it's better.
All right. Let's give it up for Jannik Sinner. Well done. Keep it going.
Well, that was fun.